Attention guardsmen, the commissariat has detected you have not yet liked this video. Do so immediately or else you will face the Emperor's wrath. And anyone who has not yet subscribed to the channel will be transferred to the penal battalions. That is all. Move out!
Hello again, my little conscripts, and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. In today's episode, we will be doing a quick tip tactica. And oh boy, do I have a spicy, explosive meatball for your viewing pleasure today. Because this crunchy combo has the potential, if you get very lucky, to do 15 mortal wounds for well under 200 points. And if you don't get the maximum, you're still going to get a really nice average amount of mortals that you can slam into pretty much any unit. And the best bit is, this combo isn't some like crazy niche thing. This is something that any guard commander could include in any of their armies. And whilst it does a little better in a couple of specific detachments, it's at home in any detachment. A bold claim indeed. Well, there's only one thing for it. Let's mount up, roll out, charge right into this thing. The first thing we need to do is get our ingredients together. And the first ingredient is going to be some Krieg combat engineers. These lads come in squads of either 5 or 10. And we're going to be looking at the 5-man squad today, because that gets us what we need for just 70 points. We don't really need the extra 5 dudes. They're just going to get in the way. So a 5-man squad of Krieg engineers. And it doesn't really matter what you give them. The only thing that you need to take in this is going to be the remote mine. Make sure you've got one guy with the remote mine, and after that you can take whatever you want. If you want to go for a flamer, or you want to go shotguns or clubs, it just doesn't matter. As long as you've got the remote mine and a 5-man squad, you are good to go. Doesn't matter about the Krieg combat engineers stat line or whatever weapons. You want the remote mine because we're going to be taking advantage of that. And we're going to be taking advantage of the fact that these guys can do the grenade stratagem for 0 command points, which is going to be very helpful. Now we've got our Krieg engineers, we need a sweet ride for them to bimble around the battlefield in, and that is going to be a Taurox. Now, you could use a Chimera or you could use a Taurox for this. I've gone for a Taurox because it's slightly cheaper. That's the only reason why. But you could absolutely do this with a Chimera if you preferred to do so. Now, the Taurox is just a cheap transport that goes 12 inches. And again, we don't care what weapons it comes with. We don't care what weapons it comes with, even slightly. We just want to be able to transport the most dudes for the least cost. And the Taurox can transport 12 guys for the low price of 75 points. If you wanted to go for a Chimera, you could do. It would just cost you 10 points more. Now, I know what you're thinking. Mordian, is that it? Take some engineers, put them in a Taurox, jump out, throw grenades at people and launch the mine? Oh, what an advanced tactic. No. Although that is about 90% of it. There's a little bit more, because we also want to take a Cyclops demolition vehicle. This is a unit you will not find in your codex, but it is totally legal. It is not a Legends unit. It is one of 2 things that survived the Great Forge World Purge, and it's pretty important for what we want to do today. You're going to look at the Cyclops Demolition Vehicle's datasheet and you're going to be very confused because it has no weapons. Its stat line is basically a 4-wound Marine. It has no objective control. Like, what the hell does this thing even do? All we care about, again, we don't really care about the stat line. We don't really care about the weapons. It has none. The only thing we care about is this ability here. Demolition charges. Each time this model or an enemy unit ends a move, if this model is in 3 inches of one or more enemy units, select one of those enemy units. This model is destroyed, but instead of rolling for its deadly demise ability, you roll 1d6. On a 2 to 5, the enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds, and on a 6, the enemy unit suffers d6 mortal wounds. Quick crazy side note around the demolition vehicle, but it just sort of blows up, right? You'd think it would do mortal wounds to everyone around it, friend and foe. But apparently it has the ability to channel the explosion in a single direction, because even if this unit is surrounded by loads of enemy units or friendly units, it only does the damage to enemy units and 1 enemy unit within 3 inches. I just thought that was kind of a funny quirk of the rules, but it's not particularly relevant for what we're talking about. What is relevant to what we're talking about is the compact rule. It's just like tucked away down here, but it's very important. This model can embark within an Astra Militarum transport model as if it were infantry. If it does, it takes up the space of 7 models. That's interesting. 7 models here, 5 models with the engineers, 12 models can be transported by the Taurox. Look at that. We can put the engineers and we can put the Cyclops into the same vehicle. And in case you're wondering how much the old Cyclops demolition vehicle costs, it is a sweet 25 points. That is, I think, the cheapest unit in the whole of the Imperial Guard. Now that we've got all of our ingredients, we need to bake the cake. So how does all this work? We're going to take our Taurox and we're going to put the combat engineers in it, and we're going to put the Cyclops demolition vehicle inside. Then when the opportunity arises, maybe you do this as an early game blitzkrieg, or maybe you use this as a bit of an ambush squad. I'm sort of leaning towards the second option, like a counterpunch squad, because you are going to lose out on the scout from the combat engineers in the Taurox, because the Cyclops is also in there and it doesn't have scout. So I think you sort of stage this up, and then when the opportunity arises, drive the Taurox forward, jump the engineers out, jump the Cyclops demolition vehicle out, and throw grenades for 0 CP because of the grenadier stratagem. Then you also yeet the remote mine at them. That can do another D3 to 2D3 based on the FAQ and depending on if it's a vehicle or not a vehicle. Then you've got the Cyclops, which gets to detonate as well, adding another D3 to D6. And then here's the best bit. Taurox charges in. Taurox or Chimera charges in, and boom, 1 CP, tank shock, adding another whole bunch of mortal wounds to this equation. Now, if you get very, very lucky and get the maximum number of mortal wounds available, which, it's just a bit of fun. It's a mental exercise. But potentially you could get 6 mortal wounds from the grenades, 6 mortal wounds from the tank shocks. That's 12 mortal wounds. Then you could get 6 mortal wounds from the Cyclops demolition vehicle, if you roll that 6, giving you 18 mortal wounds. And then if you are fighting a vehicle, you could get another 6 mortal wounds on top of that, making 24 mortal wounds. If you don't fight a vehicle, you can still get 21 mortal wounds. So I actually misquoted at the beginning of the video. It's not a maximum of 15? Is that what I said? It's a maximum of potentially 24 mortal wounds. Okay. In an ideal world, we'd get the maximum mortal wounds. But what is the average? Well, the average is still very, very nice. Very impressive. The average is 3 from the grenades of the combat engineers, 3 from the tank shock, because you get to roll 8 to 9 dice, depending on if it's a Chimera or if it is a Taurox, and you get those on 5-ups. So it's 3 from the grenades, 3 from the tank shocks, that's 6, and then it's 2 from the remote mine, and it's 2 from the Cyclops demolition vehicle. So that is still 10 mortal wounds from this single combo. That's the average. And that, for the low, low price of a single command point, just tank shock, a single command point, and 170 in-game points. 75 for the Taurox, 25 for the Cyclops, that's 100, 70 for the 5-man combat engineer squad, 170 points, 10 mortal wounds. Ooh, baby. 10 mortal wounds and a cheeky bumper car as well, because that Taurox might be tying something up there, doing a good job. But wait, there's more, because we've got a couple of ways that we can really start ratcheting up the pressure with this thing. Firstly, we've got Hammer of the Emperor. Now, if you're not bothered about the tank shock, which would mean you would lose out on 3 mortal wounds, but maybe distance is more important, you could go Hammer of the Emperor, auto advance 6 inches, Torx is going 18 inches, and then you use crash through instead. And so you go 18 inches through all the terrain, jump out, and start doing a bunch of mortal wounds. So you've got that option. Personally, I would not do the advanced part, because I think the Torx adding its mortal wounds to the equation is quite a big deal. Well, it adds 30%, right? I think just taking advantage of crash through and having 2 command points is the way of looking at it. 1 for the tank shock, 1 for the crash through. There's also some potential with the mechanized assault detachment as well. Rapid dispersal could help your engineers get the angles that they need. And you've also got hasty extraction and move out, which if your opponent does some sort of reactive move to avoid all of this, between move out and hasty extraction, there's a good chance that you might be able to get back in the transports and save your assets. Truth be told, though, I don't think mechanized assault is as good for this tactic as going Hammer the Emperor. Crash through just gives you that ability to go as the crow flies, and that means you can get this combo where it needs to be and start doing those mortal wounds very, very efficiently. But here's the thing, it really can fit in any detachment. It is detachment agnostic. The big question is it worth it? I think this tactic has potential. I think when I first looked at all of this, when the codex first dropped, I wasn't so sure. But I've been to a few tournaments recently, and having the ability, having the tools in your toolbox to just call upon quite a few mortal wounds is really nice. There's a lot of elite infantry out there with 4-up invulnerable saves, and they can just be a nightmare to try and grind through with conventional means. But having some cheap engineers and Tauroxes and Cyclopses to just jump out, jump on them, and to start doing damage, and just getting past all of those defensive layers apart from feel no pain is really nice. I suppose the big question is, how much should you lean into this? I think 1 would be a pretty comfortable thing for guard commanders to slot in and have a bit of fun with. Would you go all in and go for like 3 of them? My instinct is no. And the reason is that having one of these is a viable tool in the toolbox. It's, let's call upon some mortals for an emergency situation. Starting to take 3 of them and you're relying upon gimmicks to do the heavy lifting. And I don't like gimmicks for heavy lifting. I like conventional damage. Leman Russes, Rogol Dawns. I like those units to be my foundation, and then I like to season my army with things like this. So if you're a guard commander that's used to putting, let's say, a couple of Rogol Dawns and a couple of Russes in your list, or maybe you're like me and you prefer Russes and you're like, I'm used to putting like 5 Leman Russes in my list for this, I think you could swap one of those Russes out and you could go for this combo instead. So you've still got 4 Russes, you've still got a good foundation, but you've got something a little bit different to maybe keep things fresh. And that's how I see this. This is a nice, fun tactic that can be effective, but you're not relying on it to do all the heavy lifting. It's something that is just keeping late stage 10th edition competitive play fun, interesting, and exciting. Of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Does this tactic interest you? Are you someone that's looking to zhuzh your list up a little bit? And have I been too conservative with it? Should I be saying put 3 of these? Have you tried maxing out on this tactic? And if so, what were the results? If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to go ahead and smash that like button. And if you want to see more quick tip tacticas, then subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure, and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian Glory Hole, today is your lucky day.